Daniel, we're here to talk about two comics that are very influential, dealing with influential characters at the very least. And you brought a very specific one of two icons, two heroes. And I'm curious about the relevance of it. Not because it's not like I don't care or anything, but um, they are two icons of pop culture. And this is almost like the crossover in many ways, you know? Uh, but go for it. What do we got?
So the comic that I brought was a DC Comics Presents. It's a certain volume where DC just presents different things. Mine is issue 47 within the volumes, but
Mhm.
it is Superman and the Masters of the Universe.
Oh
So
my God.
yeah, it's wild, and it's an original print. It's
Oh, nice.
basically, we get a Superman and a He-Man fight in within the comics, and it's really dope. So the relevance, or I guess what birthed this was, He-Man was a new up and coming toy line in the 80s, in the early 80s, and in 81 they came out with these four little comics to go along with the He-Man release with the toy line, right? And at the time, Eternia hadn't been fleshed out, right? He-Man hadn't been fleshed out. It was just these four comics. And now the He-Man fans, the Masters of the Universe fans, we refer to that time period in Eternia as Savage Eternia, because back then He-Man was just a wandering barbarian, and Castle Grayskull, they have to defend Castle Grayskull. The sorceress uses He-Man as a defender, so she gives him the good half of the power sword, while Skeletor has the bad half of the evil half of the sword. And they go and they do battle within these little four comics that come around with the toy
Mhm.
line, and they were like mini comics, right? But DC, to help out the toy line, it was kind of like a mutual thing. Like they would distribute the comic, but they would have to have a crossover with their icon, with Superman, right? So they had to write that, and that's what kind of like spawned this in 82. So
That's
this
a
is
beautiful
1980.
cover.
Yeah, it's beautiful cover, right? You get
Yeah, look at
Skeletor
that.
there. You get the classic Superman and Master of the Universe logo there. Get Gray
Who's
Skulls in the
the
back.
writer and artist?
So the writer is Paul Kupperberg, and
Huh.
the artist, or at least the penciler, was Kurt Swan. And then I
Okay.
think Mike DiCarlo is the inker, Gene D'Angelo is the colorist, Ben Oda is the letterer,
Yeah.
Dave Manek is the editor, but the main writer was Paul Kupperberg. Um,
Oh, that's
so
sick.
yeah, it's very sick. It's super dope. It's not very intricate. It's just a one-off, right? Because you just need the excuse to get these two to fight and do battle together, right? So it's not super intricate. It's not super deep. You almost don't really go into, the heavy mind, like what's deep inside the mind of He-Man or Superman. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just funny. You go through the similarities of them because they introduce to you, Adam, who's not clumsy, but he's very much a jokester, and he's always goofing
Hmm.
off, right? And he's young. He's Prince Adam, right? And but certain character like the sorceress knows him to be He-Man, the most powerful man in the universe, right? And then same thing with, and they go through that in the very beginning, right? They go through the introducing Adam, and then they also introduce the similarity of Clark Kent, right? Clark Kent is
Yeah.
very clumsy. He trips over this cable line where he's trying to do this show and become an anchor for
Oh,
for
for the Daily Planet?
for the planet, right? And so
Uh-huh.
then they show the similarities there, and what ends up happening is uh Skeletor always messing around, always trying to get into the power of Castle Grayskull, right? He's always trying to
Yeah.
become the master of the universe. And in doing so, he's using his evil half of the sword, and he's trying to get in. And in doing that, it creates a rift in time and space. and there's this cloud that appears above Metropolis as he's like striking the castle Grayskull, right? He's like, I guess he's
Yeah.
creating this dimensional portal in Metropolis. And
Yeah.
so Clark,
His hits are so powerful. They
yeah,
break
it's so
reality
powerful, right?
like
Yeah,
Superman.
exactly.
Pre-crisis.
So Superman is doing a normal patrol around Metropolis. He sees this cloud and he tries to use his X-ray vision to see through it. He can't see. He's like, that's really weird. And before, as he's exploring it, he gets caught in like basically like what a traction beam, right? But he gets caught in the storm and it brings him through, and he ends up right in front of Castle Grayskull. He's trying to figure out what the hell is going on, and
Yeah.
and and that's when Skeletor sees him and is like, who the hell are you? Like he thinks Grayskull summoned this hero to fight him. And we know that Superman is weak towards magic, so Skeletor is able to kind of defeat him in a matter of seconds. He just blows him away, like really far away. He's like, get out of here. So he uses a sword and he blows Superman away. And He-Man knows there's a disturbance at Castle Grayskull, right? So he goes to do battle with Skeletor, and he sees not a wounded, but a Superman that's recovering from being tossed to the ground. And he's like, hey, what's going on? And he's like, well, I got tossed, by this guy named Skeletor. And He-Man's like, what? Like, Skeletor's around. That's who I'm trying to do battle with. And he's like, all right, well, let's roll into battle, And he's like, all right. So they
Let's do it.
charge. Let's do it. So that now they're rolling deep, right? So it's Cringer, Battle Cat, and He-Man's on Battle Cat, right? And he's actually going so fast that even Superman's having trouble catching up to him. He's like, oh shoot, like you're actually pretty fast. And he's like, well, yeah, like we're gonna do battle, And he's like, okay, shoot, like, because he's trying to he doesn't even understand what's going on. He literally just appears in front of Grayskull. This Skeletor's right there, and he's like, all right, that's it. And they start fighting, sends him off. And so he's still trying to process what's going on, right? And then once they get to Skeletor, they get to Castle Grayskull. He-Man thinks they're gonna dispatch Skeletor in seconds because he's like, "You're rolling with me now. I got help. You're screwed. Like it's over." And that's when Skeletor tells him, he's like, "Yeah, I might be screwed if you guys team up and you guys fight me. Yeah, that's true. But your homie, the one that you brought, he's like weak to magic. He's like super weak." And then before he can even ask like, why does that matter, or like, who cares, we're still gonna whoop you, like as he's like, He-Man's about to have his comeback, Skeletor takes control of Superman. And so when He-Man's about to attack Skeletor, Superman comes and tackles him, right? So he tackles him out of the way. Yeah, he tackles him out of the way. But He-Man is the most powerful man in the universe, sir. And so as he gets tackled, he grabs him by his...
Maybe in that universe.
But that's the thing. In that universe, he is the most powerful man. And so it's basically a battle. It becomes a battle between the two most powerful men within their universe. Mm-hmm. So as a kid, when I read this, because this I've had since I was a kid. I've had it since...
It's in great condition.
It's in great condition, right? I've had it since I was a freaking kid. This is my dad bought this for me. Wow. And so, yeah, so it's really cool. And it's dope. So me, when I was reading it, I'm not looking for like the perspective of this dude's heart. Like, I just want to see He-Man and Superman fight, right? Like that's really all I want. And that's what I got. So then they start handling. He-Man uses his cape and tosses Superman, and then they both throw a punch, and He-Man kind of connects. And Superman doesn't connect at first, but then he connects with a second one and freaking knocks He-Man down to the ground. So He-Man's like on the floor, like trying to recover from this little tussle that they had. And Superman's like, how do I get out of this? Because he knows he's being controlled. He doesn't want to fight He-Man. Even as he's fighting him, he's like, shoot, like, why am I like working for Skeletor? I can't fight this magic. It's too powerful. I don't know I can't control myself, right? So as he like clocks He-Man down, and He-Man like, is trying to recover from the freaking being punched by Superman, which is insane. Superman comes up with the idea. He's like, oh, okay, I'm gonna like, he can control me, kind of. He can control my body. but like, can he control my eyes? Like, can he control anything else I can do? So he uses his heat vision to trap Skeletor. He makes the ground around Skeletor so hot that it becomes molten, right? And then he gets trapped in that. So Skeletor sinks in and he gets trapped and he can't do anything, which releases Superman from the spell, right? So now that he's lost his focus, the spell is lost control, right? So then as He-Man's recovering and he's about to whoop Skeletor, like, oh dude, like now he's pissed, you know. Superman already has him in his hands and he's like, hey, do you mind if I like whoop him, you know? And He-Man's like, no, like go ahead, do your thing, you know.
By all means.
Yeah, do your thing. And so then freaking as Superman's gonna launch him and destroy him, you know, Skeletor does the normal thing that he always does, and he just disappears. He like disappears, and Superman's even like, wait, where did he go? What the heck? And he's like, does he do that often? And he's like, yeah, we're gonna fight him again. Like He-Man tells him, like,
Yeah.
we're gonna, don't worry, we're gonna fight him again. And and then that's when they finally have time to explain to each other, like, you know, what's going on. And he's like, yeah, I still don't understand. Like that's when he tells him, and he's like, hey, like I gotta go. Superman's like, I gotta go, there's another portal opening, I see, I gotta go, or else I'm gonna miss my chance to go. And he's like, but if you ever need to call on me, you know, and then he like just bounces out, and that's when He-Man's like waving. He's like, don't worry, like I know how to call you if I ever really, really need your help. Like I know how to call to Earth, so don't worry, my friend. And then he, you know, he goes back, and then Eternia is safe again. So, you know, but that's
That's
essentially
cool.
the comic, and it's pretty freaking cool. But yeah, it's pretty sick. And then you know, and then they say farewell. So
Yeah.
they say
That's the end of
farewell,
the episode.
and that's the end of the episode, man. And for me, like, yeah, exactly. Like, you know, this is before we had a bunch of movies and a bunch of a bunch of cartoons. So for me, like when I'm reading that, like my mind is playing with the panel, right? It's almost like I'm watching a movie in itself, but it's just a comic, you know.
Yeah.
So, but
Well, it's
yeah,
crazy how like that it follows the crossover template kind of you know, beat for beat, and
it
it's
does.
in a classic way, you know, because crossovers are obviously, you know, the big rage. They're always exciting to see big characters like that, especially those kind of pillars, because Superman had been around for a long time at that point, and
Right,
He-Man is almost pitched as like the 80s Superman, you know what I
right,
mean?
right. Essentially,
And
yeah.
yeah, they're putting them up against each other so we can actually see them. And I'm
Mm.
surprised that the fight didn't happen earlier on, but in this, it's made out to be kind of the main event. You know what I mean? Like you have to work your way up to
Right,
see them actually scrape and brawl and everything.
right,
And we know
right,
they're going to team up, of course. I mean,
right.
this is from a period in pop culture where um, a lot of kids programming were commercials for toys and stuff, and that's not inherently a bad thing.
Right,
It's just the way capitalism is. But look
right.
at the great things that have come out from that era, things like He-Man, things like uh what the hell, G.I. Joe, Transformers, you know,
Of
the
course.
Battle Toads if you want.
Yeah, yeah. Battletoads,
um
Biker Mice from Mars, Street Sharks, you
yeah.
know, like
Yeah,
go.
every the turtles
Yeah,
even. I mean,
yeah. Transformers.
it all comes from these types of meetings that make excitement. You know, like
Right,
that's a
right.
really cool thing. It's like generations meeting this crossover.
It is. And I'm glad that Superman was one of the early introductions to He-Man. You know what I mean? Because He-Man for
Hmm.
me is one of my top five favorite heroes of all time. I love He-Man, and I know that's because I did. I grew up with him. My first toy was a He-Man toy, and so you know I saw the cartoon. And that was like I was watching religiously,
Yeah,
and then the movie came out with Dolph Lundgren, and I know it's not the best movie of all
yeah.
time, but I still really loved it. I love the Skeletor in that movie is really good. So even if the movie's
Oh, Frank
whatever,
Leota.
yeah, that
Or
performance is
Frank Leota. Frank
yeah,
Langella.
yeah, Mangella, yeah, yeah, yeah. But that performance is the best performance in that movie, and it deserves to be respected, even if the movie's not the best. That performance from Skeletor is for Skeletor is insanely good. You know.
Yeah. Well, is this comic the first crossover you read?
It's the first crossover I ever read. Yes, the first, like,
Wow.
other than like team ups, right? But like the you
Right,
know,
right.
like teams, but the first like crossover, and it
Yeah,
blew my mind. It literally blew my mind. This is just like of
yeah.
pages. It's just ink on like, you know shitty paper. You know what I mean? And to me, it gave me goosebumps when I was a kid. I didn't even know what goosebumps were. And then, or I kind of did, because I had seen RoboCop, and RoboCop really does a number on you. So does the Turtles,
Especially
but
that scene where he's getting shot up.
oh my goodness, I'm telling you, that's how I was introduced to death. I didn't even know that, and
Right.
Optimus Prime dying. Those were like traumatic experiences as a kid,
Oh my God.
and it's your first kind of like bout with, oh shoot, the main character can die. What the hell is going on? Like, you're almost confused. Like, you want to, like, I turn to my dad, like, I think they did it wrong. I don't like, you don't understand. Like,
Did
wait,
they
he's the main
rewind it?
character. You just killed him. Like, what? Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
But yeah, this is the first like crossover, two IPs, right? Like, crossing over,
yeah,
literally the hand clapping, like, you're Superman, I'm He-Man, like, let's roll, let's go whoop some butt. And
yeah.
yeah, it really blew my mind, because I love Superman already, and then I fell in love with He-Man, and then both of them meeting is just, to me, it's next level. And then when they fought, I actually felt that nervousness in reading
Mhm.
the comic. Like, I was nervous, like, oh my goodness, they're gonna fight, Jesus, like, what's gonna happen? You know what I mean? Like, they can't punch each other. This is not fun, so.
Yeah,
But it
is
was,
this post-crisis?
I think it's no, I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think so.
Okay,
Maybe not. I
okay,
don't think so, because this is 81. I think Crisis is a little bit after that.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, it came out after then.
Yeah, it
The
did. It
reason
was
I
like
ask
later
is,
in the 80s.
yeah, because the reason I ask is because I know they've done crossovers since. I mean, there have been plenty. DC has done so many crossovers with like Batman and the Turtles, Power
Right.
Rangers, Justice League. They brought back the Masters of the Universe and DC, Justice League crossover and everything.
They
Um,
did.
I wondered if this was ever considered canon, aside from maybe considering it canon yourself. Like this can be easily, I mean, it can easily be considered like this could have happened, since
Yeah.
it's just like a one-off story and everything. But I'm curious if it ever was considered.
I wonder. I know there was a small run that was distributed by Marvel, actually, in the 90s. So He-Man has been distributed by both DC and Marvel, but I think, generally speaking, it's considered more DC. You know,
Right.
um the latest crossover that they had, well, one of the biggest stories that they've ever had was the Eternity War, and that was sick. I thought it was dope. But a dope crossover that they had, like you said, they did the, Justice League and Godzilla. They did Power Rangers
Oh
and
yeah.
Godzilla, which was really dope. They're about to do Naruto and the Turtles, which is really awesome. But
Oh really?
yeah, yeah,
Oh wow.
it's, yeah, super exciting, super exciting. But one that they did that was really, really cool. It was really cool. It was a fun read. Was Thundercats and Masters of the Universe, and it was
Oh,
really
that's
sick.
yeah.
It was
That's
so
Are
sick.
those both Hasbro?
Mattel.
Mattel and
Yeah,
Hasbro.
Mattel. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Because
Okay,
because
because
I
I
know
know.
He-Man's lines are Mattel.
Oh, they are Mattel. They're not
Yeah.
Hasbro?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I could see here, but I don't. I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure
because
they're.
I'm. Oh wow, that okay. Maybe I'm thinking. No, I'm thinking of Transformers because they're definitely Hasbro, and so is
Yeah,
GI Joe.
Transformers are Hasbro.
Right. Okay.
Transformers are
Okay.
Hasbro. What's the other one? Mash is Hasbro. Um,
Mash and
yeah, what's
the
the other one?
GoBots.
Yeah, those are all Hasbro. But yeah, it says here it's Mattel.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Trademark of
Oh,
Mattel for
oh, well
sure.
then, dude, you gotta get that. If Barbie was such a big hit, you need the He-Man film now. Mattel
You
needs
have
to get
to.
on that.
You have
On
to.
it.
Yeah, I don't know how they don't do it. Like, sometimes I wonder, they throw money at these things, and not that Barbie was bad. I liked Barbie, but not,
Yeah.
uh I don't know. Sometimes they throw money at stuff, to a prequel or to something that I don't want to see, and I'm just like, man, you guys could literally print money if you just did He-Man, you know what I mean, or a Thundercat.
He-Man, it's the
Yeah.
answer.
Like, come on.
Thundercats.
Yeah, let's
I
go.
do
Bring it.
both, and then cinematic universe. You know they're doing Transformers and GI Joe soon.
They're always in talks, right? Quote unquote in talks. Like, what should we do? What should we do? Like, where's Battletoads at? What do you
Yeah,
talk? What should you do? What are you talking
they're
about? There's like
gone.
so much stuff, you know. So I don't know.
They're away.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm surprised in a post Thor world we don't have a. I'm very surprised actually that we don't have another Masters of the Universe.
yeah. I mean, we could have had it by now for a while, and it always falls through. The live action always falls through. It's annoying, but you know,
Hmm
at least we have the one. We have the Lundgren one. So let's go.
Longren.
Let's go. I love
Is
Lundgren.
it, yeah, there's an interesting like we have we're stuck in the 80s kind of, which
Hmm.
I'm not criticizing, you know, a lot of
Right.
cool stuff has come from then, like Stranger Things and you know, the Guardians of the Galaxy, you know,
Of course.
there's an interesting fascination fans have of that time. And I mean, I watched Back to the Future the other night, and it just seems like in entertainment back then there was just kind of like this like quality was more, you know, it's more of a factor in what
Yeah,
was
they
entertainment.
cared in a certain way, a little bit different than they do now, you
Yeah,
know? It's and
yeah,
sometimes that care you see it, even though the style might be different, but you see that care in you know the creators care a certain way. Like I would say the first Deadpool kind of had that feel where it's like
yeah,
you know this is only made because the showrunners, the producers, the actors themselves, they all cared. You know what I mean?
yeah. They worked their
So
ass off on it,
they
you
work their
know,
ass off, and
and
you can see it. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I don't know if our era of entertainment is going to be looked at in the same way that the 80s will be
No,
or is,
I don't think
you
so,
know.
and I don't think it should be. But yeah, definitely not. It will not be.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, we're in the corporate era, which is crazy me saying that because literally things like He-Man and Transformers and you know Thundercats were made to sell toys.
Right, right. No, I know.
Crazy.
It's literally
You
created
know.
for that. You know.
We're the repackaged era.
We are. Yeah, that's what we're doing, and we do that for every single thing. We
Everything.
repackage all eras. That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.